Welcome back, recruits. I'm Chris Nance with the Northern California Ghostbusters. Today we're back with another HasLab how-to. We're going to show you how to swap the C-cell batteries out of this thing for a handy little lithium-ion rechargeable. Let's get going. Stop me if you've heard this before. I am going to take the motherboard off of this pack, just to start with. And because it is slow and tedious, and I've already recorded a video of me doing it like twice now, we're just going to put a link to the how to do that and through the magic of editing. So now that we have access inside the pack, first thing I did was just go ahead and unplug the battery JST as we were taking it apart. That let us take the motherboard off, of course, but then also we need access to that little JST plug because we're going to be replacing it with our own custom JST to USB cord. And that's going to let us swap out to a completely different battery setup. So you can see with the Talent Cell batteries, they have a little 5-volt output USB right there on top. 5 volts is what the HasLab runs on, so it's exactly what we need, and it effectively is a much more dense battery life compared to like the C-cells.
The C batteries, and there's a weight difference. And if you want this cord, this is a Frutotech cord, but if you know how to solder, you can make this yourself, or you can get on Etsy. I'll put a link in the description below. Same thing for the Talent Cell, that's an Amazon purchase. I'll put that link in the description below as well.
The type of Talent Cells that you want to use will always be explicitly marked both on their sales page and on the battery itself. And you want to make sure that you are using one that has a USB output of 5 volts. As you can see, US output 2, USB 5 volt 2 amp. Perfect. Really all we have to do is plug the USB directly into the Talent Cell, turn the Talent Cell on. There you go. That's your battery turned on. The actual kind of challenge here really lies in like, how do you want to mount your battery? So you can see there's all kinds of space in here that we can work with. You know, you can stick it down here, you can mount it inside here, like
it's all personal preference.
It's all personal preference. There's all kinds, it just kind of is up to you. I like batteries, especially primary power. I like to have access to them. I want to be able to pull the battery pack itself off. I want to be able to turn the battery on and off.
Without having to remove the back motherboard.
I want to be able to see the charge level of the battery. And so I want to be able to access the recharge ports on the battery. Being able to do all of that without having to take things apart, without having to take the motherboard off is kind of the ideal, in my opinion. So to do that, and then just as a quick aside, just to show you, proof of concept here. Voila.
Right where the other batteries were plugged in.
Yep.
So what we're doing is we're going to just remove these wires from this motherboard. I've already unscrewed the screw that's right here that holds on this. This is a little capacitor, and this is the battery pack is basically housed inside this thing. So if you turned it over, you'd see all the C batteries, but they're not here right now. We're just going to remove this, and I thought it'd be fun to just desolder them. You probably don't want to pull with your fingers because it can get the wire hot. So what I'm going to do is
heat also conducts along copper.
So I'm going to get this little grabber, and I'm going to grab the wire because I don't want to touch it with my fingers because it'd be hot. And I'm going to heat this up at a weird angle and melt the plastic and break my grabber. Okay, you're going to have to cut that because that's a decent sized glob.
It's probably like the quickest, sloppiest solder that you could find.
You're doing like what, 24,000 of them, right?
Yeah. I would be surprised if they even actually used a soldering iron to do the solders on these. It's probably all heat guns, yeah.
Or heat gun. Okay, well that was kind of messy, but...
So Scott, why would you want to solder this instead of just rip it off manually?
Well, because this is more fun. I could clip these wires off right here, and the wires would be totally reusable. But I just felt like doing this. I want to solder.
We're gonna see more solder from you soon, I'm sure.
Yes. I'm doing a terrible job right now too, so, but.
Ta-da! And now we have a is it JST connector? Right? JST connector for positive, negative. We need anything for it. So.
Yep, there it is.
A little 2-pin positive negative lead if it's needed. Now that I have every parts isolated out again, I want to actually start drilling some access holes. As I mentioned before, our plan here is to mount the battery externally. What I'm going to do is I'm going to take some Velcro that I have, and I'm going to go ahead and mount the battery physically to the outside of the battery box, which means that I'm going to drill a hole through the outside of the door, and then through the inside wall of the battery tray. That'll give us a way to pass a wire that is going to run from the USB port there, through there, into the board.
And this is all personal preference. You don't have to do it this way, but this is the way we're doing it.
Yep.
You can do it anywhere.
As I mentioned, the advantage of doing it this way is simply just that you have your battery out where it's accessible all the time. That has a lot of big advantages to it.
Yeah, not having to open up. Your old pack used to open up to have the access sound level.
So I used to have my volume and my batteries mounted inside the pack, and I had to open it up completely every time I got to a convention to actually turn it on.
Turn it on and off.
Yeah.
All right, so what kind of drill are we using and what drill bit?
I'm using my faithful Milwaukee, Greg. And right now I just stuck a 1564, but probably get a little rowdy with a 1/4 inch. Let's get a little rowdy with a 1/4 inch. How about?
Remember, the hole's got to be big enough to fit the USB, not the JST connector, because the USB's got to pop off, run through the thing when you take the motherboard off. So that's the important.
No, I'm definitely going to have to open it up, this hole up a little bit further after this. This is going to be like a 2-step drill process here.
Okay.
So,
Don't get your table.
it's a workbench. That's what it's for. See? Perfect. Scott, I put a hole in the workbench. All right, so I started with a 1/4 inch bit. That is still definitely too small for the USB. Let's go up to a 932. I'm just gonna basically keep stepping up my bit sizes here. I have a couple of step bits. So thankfully, we can break some power tool rules that you're not really supposed to use these things this way. You're not nearly getting as much of a cutting surface that you would normally get out of the drill bit by doing this, but because we have some nice soft plastic to work with, like, we're kind of getting away with it here.
Will you show me how close it is so you can show me how much you're trying to do? If you can see. All right, there you go.
So width is okay, it's actually the top to bottom, so
Not yet a match.
So, taking a little jeweler's file and
Trying to make it a little bit more wide, right?
yep, just trying to widen it out enough for the thickest part of that USB cable to pass through. So I used, I drilled a trio of holes so that they would overlap to basically open it up as wide as possible. And then we kind of used the drill to kind of open it up as a little bit wider. And then we went to town with it with a little file. And now you can actually pass a USB through. So the next step is going to be to do the same thing to the bottom of the battery box. And in this case, I'm going to be a little bit less gentle. I'm just going to go out of my way to try to drill a big hole in the thing. Is that the first time I've cursed in the how-to tapes?
Family friendly. Ow!
that is obviously not going to be large enough for that USB to pass through.
There you go. Now just go back and forth as you have it done. Yeah, that's what I do. There you go. Yeah, you got it.
Oh, we should probably be wearing respirators.
Where's the fun in that?
That is not at all my cleanest work, but it might work.
You can't see it. It's okay.
Hey!
Do that again. Beautiful. Okay. We recommend wearing respirators.
Yeah, do this
Probably.
do this in a well-ventilated area. I can smell burning plastic as I'm doing this. So now that we have the JST plugged into a wire that's running to a USB plug, we can just go right to the talent cell, and we're going to go ahead and test it. Make sure you have the cyclotron lid on, otherwise it will not turn on. So that's our switch order then. For primary power now, our switch order is going to be battery, original, and then the keep alive.
But it's working. The seed batteries are out. And we only have the talent cell battery plugged in, so it's working.
Yep, there it is. Talent cell is turned on and running the pack right now.
So then now we're gonna put the motherboard back on in the reverse order, if you want to see that, and then we're gonna show you how we mount it to the motherboard and how we attach it through the holes we made. So yeah.
Normally when you're reattaching the HasLab's motherboard, you need to replug its power source back in. Now in this case, we have this JST to USB connector. I'm gonna go ahead and run it right through the hole that we made for it.
And the wire inside, there's a bunch of divots. The wire can lay in any of the indents. You'll see what you're pinching or not. So I know someone had a question about that in another video.
Yeah,
There's places they lay, so it should be fine.
You have a couple of options. It needs to come into this space here. You have a few options. Right now it looks like the cleanest way is gonna be kind of right through this space. You do also have, I don't know how well you can see there.
The divot.
They also have a pass-through on that side as well. So if I wanted to, I could just run it around like that.
There you go. This is also much thicker cable, so you're not gonna...
Yeah, it's a lot harder to really damage it by pinching it. It's sitting in its housing now. Now that I have our USB back inside the battery compartment, our now empty battery compartment, I've got this pass-through on the outside battery door cover, and I can just go ahead and pass it through there and clip that back down. And yeah, that's better. Ta-da! What we're gonna go ahead and do, and there's a bunch of ways that you can do this. You don't have to put it right here on the outside. If you're going to mount it to the outside, you don't necessarily have to put it right here. Really, the thing to pay attention to are the holes where the mounting brackets go. So anywhere
For your Alice frame.
For your Alice frame. So anywhere that you're outside of those hole sets, so those quarters, there's generally, enough space behind the Alice frame that you're gonna have, these nice big, a lot of real estate to work with. I like over here because it's a nice clear space and it's right where our wire run is already, so we can just go like that.
And that's replaces the C batteries.
And that.
And you can use Velcro is probably the ideal thing to use. We don't have any here, but you want to Velcro it to that spot. You can also use double-sided tape. It's a little more permanent, but that's something you can also do. And they also make Etsy printed cages for this talent style and bigger ones that you can screw into the back of your custom motherboard or your HasLab one if you want to go that route. There's a million ways to do this.
There's all kinds of ways to mount these batteries. Fans have been using these talent cells for proton packs for quite a few years. The larger version of these batteries are in fact what I use to power my hero pack. So they're really solid, very popular little batteries. And that is how you replace the stock C-cell battery bay with a nice rechargeable lithium-ion battery.